Yo, welcome to the Cosmic Paradox channel. Like, subscribe, and share. Okay, so now we're gonna move on. We're gonna look at episode 4 because now it's time for him to go to hell and get his helm. So episode 4 is called A Hope in Hell. Now in episode 4 it starts off, his narration, but in terms of hell, it has many names: Avernus, Tartarus, Hades, the infernal region that you call hell. Now, it does exist for some. He says hell, and it was a surprise that to Matthew that hell was cold, but when you really think about it, it's really not that surprising if you think about the concept of what it's supposed to be. It should be cold. But anyway, so at this time, Dream is on a journey to for hell, and at the same time, it's also showing us John because it's like both of them are embarking on a journey. So John, he's free out into the world, and he's walking out in the traffic, and then there's this lady, this black lady. She stops to help him. She sees him in trouble, like he almost get hit in traffic, offers him a ride. Now her name is Rosemary. Now, rosemary is a herb. So, when you think about the name herb or rosemary, it carries a lot of metaphysical properties with it. So, rosemary is a symbol of friendship, loyalty, remembrance. Traditionally, rosemary was carried by mourners at funerals. Rosemary was also often entwined into a wreath and dipped in scented water and worn by the bride on her wedding day as a symbol of love and fidelity. Now, rosemary also has a history of magical use as a magical herb, such as in purification, improving memory, and attracting love. So, there's a lot of great, properties affiliated with rosemary. So, we do have to when you're looking at movies, shows, or what have you, symbols and meanings and things of that nature can also be included in names. And, as far as colors, what they're wearing, the names of places, locations, all those things can play a factor. Now, Dream. Now, at the same time, Dream, he's following the dam to the entrance to hell. And he can't sneak in. He doesn't sneak in. He told Matthew that a king may not enter another monarch's realm uninvited. So you can't go into other realms uninvited. This is even having to do with individuals, coming into people's dreams and things of that nature. There's rules, there's protocols which must be followed. So even for gods, right, there are rules, there's ways of doing things that has to be followed. So he has to ring the bell, so to speak, or like strike a gong. Now, if you're familiar with in occultism, when you're dealing with the natures of ritual, a bell is like a notification. It's like the start of a ritual in terms of a bell. Where else do you know about the ringing of the bell? Think about the start of Wall Street. They ring the bell. So ringing the bell carries symbolism with it in itself, right? So when the demon asked who he was, he said he was the king of dreams, the ruler of the nightmare realm. But he didn't want to let him in because he didn't see his ruby or his helm, which, as I stated before, are means of identification for him. Remember, the helm is like a sigil, and a sigil in turns is like a calling card. It's like a phone number. You have a phone, a direct for your phone. There's a number directly linked to your phone. So a sigil is like a phone number or a calling card directly linked directly to a specific type of energy. So he goes on to tell Matthew that they are going to see one Lucifer Morningstar, the ruler of hell. And he goes on to say, Lucifer is no mere devil. He's the wisest of everyone. He even tells them that he knew Lucifer back when he was the angel of Samael. So this series touches on a lot because if you study occult as far as in Luciferianism and things of that nature, you know that the name behind Satan or behind the devil is Samael. Even if you watch the show Lucifer, Whenever when God came down, when his father came, whenever he wanted to get serious with Lucifer, he would call him Samael as a means of directly calling on his energy, because Lucifer is a title, just like Christ is a title. So he said he knew Lucifer back when he was the angel Samael, the most beautiful and wisest of all the angels. He even goes on to say that Lucifer is even more powerful than him, especially right now, because he's fresh out of being in captivity. He don't have all his tools, all his power, so he's at a major disadvantage, and he's well aware of that. Which is why Lucian wanted him to have a raven with him, so somebody could watch his back. So he starts to, and they're walking along the path. He starts to question the way that the demon was taking him. The demon starts to laugh because of where he is taking him, and he realizes this when a woman calls out to him. A woman calls him, and she called him Kakul, which was a previous name that he went by some 10,000 years ago or so when he met her, and her name was Nada, one of his true loves. She was the queen of what was called the first people. Of course, she's a black lady, right? And even when we saw him, he was depicted a different way. So, but in seeing her and being the queen, the ruler of these people, that's another indicator how those ancient civilizations, times of antiquity, were based on a matriarchy system. But she calls him Dream Lord and recognizes him as the way he looked when she knew him. So we get a glimpse of what he looked like in when he was this previous person. So it's like, what's seen as God like figures have different names upon different interactions with different cultures and look a certain different type of way. So if we look at Thoth, we're looking away, and then we look at Hermes or Hermes looking a certain way, or even Tahuti. So that it translates depending on the culture and what it is that they're talking about, right? But he looked different. He looked like he was melanated with dreads and everything, and um, he said it pained him to see her like that, and she asked him to free her. And he says after 10,000 years, he still loves her, but he has not forgiven her, and he still leaves her there. So she's there because of him. This is an insight into the way of understanding how energies work, and because Dream has this way about him as a deity, you gotta kind of think about it. They are not, in some ways, it's like, what's the way to say it? Um, they, as much as they can be stuck in a certain type of way, and that's because they have to exuberate the expression of this energy. And we see throughout the series there's times where he should have been more aware of what the situation was calling for in importance, and he merely dismissed it, and he shouldn't have done that in some ways, but we'll get to that. But he goes on, to tell Matthew that she was there simply because she defied him. He's a pretty rigid person. He's a ruler. That's how rulers are. They're rigid in their ways, which we, like I say, we see throughout the show. And that's because he is a deity. That expression of the energy is who he is. So when he finally reaches the gate, of course, it has a huge pentagram on it, right? Representation of hell. So we see Lucifer, and Lucifer is depicted as a woman. Now she's wearing all white with black wings, and we see with as the daughter of Lilith and one of Lucifer's right hand, so to speak. But she asked him if he was coming to acknowledge. This is what Lucifer asked him: if he was coming to acknowledge the sovereignty of hell and to become an ally to the realm. He calls her Lightbringer. He always says Lightbringer because that's what Lucifer means. Lucifer as a title means light bearer. That's what it means. It's not the name, right? So that, because that's what, like I said, that's what Lucifer means, the bringer of light. So she wonders how much he has changed. since he's been in prison because, um, but he is simply only there for his helm. Even though he lets her know, I have not changed my mind about that. I'm simply here for my helm, which he asks for her to give it back to him because it is his and is rightfully his. But he does not know the demon that has it. So she tells him there's rules, there's protocols that has to be followed. It's the second time he's had to deal with that, but he is in another's realm. Now he doesn't know the demon's name, so she summons all of them. And when it looks like he's gonna walk off, it's because he has his sand, so his sand will bring anything to him that is his. And upon doing that, it brings forth, you know, the demon. And but see, before he does that, Lucifer, we can kind of tell the animosity between them. We can kind of tell because she says, I know how much you rely on your tools, but sometimes the tools can be the subtlest of traps. We become reliant on them, and in their absence, we become vulnerable or weak. But as I said, he's not walking away to leave. He's walking away because he has the sand. So upon pulling in or bringing the helm to him, it brings the demon. And the demon who has the helm is the demon that by the name of Corazon. Then Corazon, she says he's a Duke of Hell. Right? This is how you know that they did their actual research, though, that they actually did their homework, because there's writings of a demon named Corazon in the 16th century by occultists by the name of Edward Kelly and one John Dee, who we do have as a character named John Dee in this series, right? Now, mind you, the character of John Dee in the show is the son of Roger Burgess, his captor, a magus, somebody who dealt with magic and who was stated to be an enemy to Aleister Crowley, right? Now, in these actual writings from the 16th century that mentions this demon from these occultists, it was a part of Enochian magic. John Dee historically was an advisor to Queen Elizabeth I into all things occult, because there's always an occultist advisor, because occultists run the world. A lot of people like to just there's this diversion that is about Satanism, but that's not the case. It's just about occultism. It's about people who understand the knowledge of what is hidden, so they know how to manipulate energy, because everything is ultimately energy, right? So in the 20th century, Corazon became important within the mystical system of Thelema, which was founded by one who, Aleister Crowley. So he's the dweller in the abyss, believed to be the last great obstacle between the adept and enlightenment. Put this together. So the very demon that has his helm is the demon that is supposed to be the obstacle between the adept and enlightenment. So at this particular time, Dream is he's leveling up. He's going through a form of initiation because he has been captive for over 100 years. So he's getting back into the swing of things. And in this process, he's having to face this demon. He's having to deal with this demon. That's what demons are. When you study actual things related to demonology and studying demons, you learn it has to do with your mind. But that's another conversation, another lecture that we would have to dig deeper into. But they go back to having to do with the chakras of the mind. So the crystal city, the lighthouse, and all of these things are references to your mind. The 144,000. All of this is mystical or metaphysical allegory, speaking on something that's a higher spiritual principle within yourself, right? But the Thelemites, or people that follow Thelema, those who follow Crowley's system, they believe that if he is met with proper preparation, then his function is to destroy the ego, which allows the adept to move beyond the abyss of occult cosmology. So the workings of working with this particular demon is to destroy the ego, which allows the adept to move beyond the abyss. Now pay attention to what actually occurred, because this is exactly the ritual that occurred after this with Dream. This is the exact thing that happened. Corazon was also known as the demon of dispersion. The definition of disperse is denoting a phase dispersed in another phase, as in a colloid. What's a chemical process? This is referring to alchemy. The very first chemistry is alchemy. It's just been watered down into just plain chemistry to take the metaphysical aspect out of it. So it's referring to alchemy, because when you're dealing with demons, when you're dealing with your demons, you're dealing with your ego, you're dealing with shadow work, you are performing alchemy. This was all an inner working system. This was never really about external things. Now we could discuss external forces and entities and things of that nature, but this is truly what the workings within the Thelema system and all of that is really about. But it requires for one to study, which most people don't do. Most people don't actually study these things. They just run with the propaganda. So this is a representation of an alchemical process. Think about it. He's in hell. He has to go to hell to recover his helm and battle the demon of dispersion. This is the conquering of the abyss. He is the Dream Lord. He has been captured for over a century. Corazon is described by Crowley as a temporary personification of the raving and inconsistent forces that occupy the abyss. In this system, Corazon is given form in evocation only, so it may be mastered. So they are showing you on a screen, in a screenwrite, a actual ritual that takes place within your mind and how it takes place, even down to the way they fought. This was deep. This was a heavy episode. You know, it was really a heavy episode. So he tells Corazon, that helm is mine. You must return it now. Now he replied to Dream, the helm is mine because I came upon it rightfully so. I traded it with a human for a paltry thing. Now remember, it was traded. Ethel Cripps traded it to get the eye of protection, right? So she wanted the amulet of protection. Now he called that a paltry thing, meaning something trivial, something meager, something minor. Because when you, in terms of spirituality, wanting to be protected from, say, a death, is a very low vibratory, mundane human thing to really want, right? So that's what he says. That's what he means when he says that. Right now, the Dream King wants his helm back. He says if the Dream King wants his helm back, he will have to fight me for it. So he challenged him. He says winning it returns the helm, but losing it was gonna make you my slave. I'm gonna make it makes him a slave to him in hell. Now Dream chose himself for the battle, and Corazon himself chose Lucifer as the one to fight Dream for him. And Dream has this look when he says Lucifer, like, I gotta fight Lucifer, because he already knows he's not as strong. He's at a major disadvantage. But this is where he is. Even so, you know, he gets a little, to be on the safe side, he tells Matthew, I need you to go back just in case I don't make it back. Matthew like, nah, bro, I ain't going nowhere. We came here to get it. We gonna leave with it. I'm not gonna leave. I'm not gonna leave. But in the meantime, you know, also in the episode, it's showing us Rosemary and John. Now, at this time, they're driving along. He's telling her his story. He's scaring her half to death. She is terrified. She wishes she would have never picked this man up. She's scared. She's like, I done picked up a murderer. I don't know what this man is capable of, you know. But he talks about people lying a lot, you know, and different things along those lines. So you can pick up on what his motivation is. You can pick up on where his trauma is rooted in. It has a lot to do with lying. It has a lot to do with lies. You know, that's his issue. It's lies, and that's because of his relationship with his mother, right? So he's basing everything upon that, because that's been the most dominant relationship in his life, right? All right. So even when, and then when we look at the eye, when you see it, it moves. It actually moves and looks around like an eye. Now, as far as Lucifer and Dream, right? So they're about to battle. And they say this is a contest of skill, confidence, and transformation. Again, this is alluding to a dark art. This is alluding to something that is different, because it's talking about alchemy. Now, it's not a physical encounter. It's a mental one. So they have to use their minds to battle each other. But it causes physical pain to them, because, I mean, mind you, the mind makes it real. It happens in your mind. It happens for real anyway. But it was such an interesting encounter, right? It was like a game of I am. They had to outwit each other using I am. And it came down to her being anti-life. And what would he be in terms of anti-life? And it looked really bad. Like he wasn't gonna come back. But he came back with an answer of hope. And when he did that, she gave in because I feel like she could have replied an answer to that. But she told Corazon to give him back to him. And when she tried to say that, well, he didn't want to give it back, of course. So Mazikeen had to kill him or whatever the case may be. And Dream calls her honorable and all of that, and she's like, "What make you think I'm gonna let you leave? You don't have no power here. Why dreams don't have no power here?" But he had to remind her of the power of dreams, and he said to her, and this was a powerful thing. This was a powerful thing that he said. He said, "Dream to say dreams have no power in hell. Tell me, Lucifer, what power would hell have if those here in prison are not able to dream of heaven?" And that was heavy. That was heavy. Because you got to understand that mentally we are placed in a mental prison, in a mental hell, and we dream of a heaven. That's where a lot of people are in their relationship with their religion. You dreaming of a heaven. And that's what makes the hell what it is. That's why it is, because of dreaming of what's better. So this is really breaking down just how deep dreams really run, and how important dreams are, and how much you have to pay attention and respect your dreams, because it has a lot to do with who you are on the inside, the true you, the depths of you, the soul of you, you know. But she lets him know, one day I'm gonna destroy you, so now he can leave. He got his helm. All he got to do now is get his ruby. And now that he has his helm, he can see the ruby. He can see exactly where it is, and he goes to it. But when he gets there and he picks it up, it's something different about it. He knows that there's something wrong with it, and it knocks him. It like knocks him out or whatever. Like it knocks him on the ground. Um, and so at this time, we get John, who gets the ruby. And then surprisingly, he goes back outside, and Rosemary's still there, because why? She's a loyal, honorable person. Her name's Rosemary. He does reward her for that, because he knows that she's good, like he said to her repeatedly, even though that guy in the store got killed because she asked him to call the police. But he still recognized that she was good. And he ended up just giving her that amulet. He was like, "You don't have to fear anymore. Don't fear anything. Can't nothing, nobody hurt you, not even me." Because then now he had his ruby, which was all that he really wanted. And the ruby can make dreams come true. So now, to conclude out of this episode, Dream does have his sand. He does have his helm. But he needs to get his ruby. But John has his ruby. And John has a plan for the ruby. John wants to create his own world. This causes and creates issues in itself, which we see coming in the next episode.